Hey, what's up guys? John here, just drinking a coffee, 8 a.m., getting ready for private pilot school. I'm 6.5 hours down, about 34 more to go to hit the licensing requirements to be a licensed pilot. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about why I'm becoming a licensed pilot, and most importantly, why you should consider it right now. Given all the chain of events that are happening in the world right now, getting a private pilot license, in my opinion, is almost a non-negotiable. I'm going to talk about how expensive it is, as well as how stressful and what you actually have to do, as well as the major benefits of being a private pilot, in my opinion, that most people don't know of and most people aren't aware of. Right now I'm just sitting, having a cup of coffee, kind of getting ready. I'm going to go inside, pack up my pilot bag, put all my stuff in that I need for school, and then I'm going to pretty much head there. I'm about 15 minutes away. And every morning, Monday through Friday, I'm going to school. I'm clocking about an hour and 15 minutes every single day. And I'm hoping to have my license in about 2 months. So 2 months, I'll be able to hop in an airplane by myself and fly around. Like, how cool is that? So I'm going to also talk about the plane that I'm considering getting and which planes most people normally get when they first start out. Most people think when you're a pilot, you have to spend millions of dollars. People think a private jet or something. Most people, when they start out, they initially get like a Cessna 172, which maybe they spend $30,000 or $50,000 in an airplane. I mean, a brand new Honda Civic today is almost that price. So airplanes are not that expensive, but I think the practicality of it is there. I mean, being able to hop in an airplane and fly somewhere from, say, Florida to Philadelphia in 5 hours by yourself, not having to go through the chaos in the normal airports today. You know, I have a 16-month-old. In 6 months, he's going to be required to wear, really to cover his face on flights. You think about how undesirable that is for a little baby. I personally don't like that idea for young children. I don't want to put that on my son. And with that being said, that's another motivating factor for why I'm getting this license. It's because I think that the stuff that they're doing right now to young children is not healthy. And, you know, it's just, I think what's most important for young children is being able to see face-to-face contact, being able to interact, and not putting that on their face. And, you know, Fauci just came out today or yesterday and said, that he wishes that there was a new passport that people would use to see who can, better yet, I'll just play the video.
It's complicated because the people who are vaccinated could easily be on airplanes without a mask because we know you're protected whether you're indoor or outdoor. The trouble is that we don't have vaccine passports. So we don't know who is vaccinated or not. We don't know who is infected or not.
So you think about that, it's like we know where the world's going. The world's going to go to a place to where our freedoms are limited. What we can do, what we can't do, it's all limited. It's all up for their decision, really. Before, it was like it was a free-for-all. Like, I don't smoke cigarettes, but 20 years ago, people were smoking cigarettes on airplanes, and they could do anything that they wanted. They had full privacy for the most part. It was a good time to be alive. Like the 80s, the 90s, look at the rock stars then. They were living the best life. And nowadays, you have to be very careful what you do, what you're allowed to do. And I think an airplane kind of gives you a little bit more freedom over who you are and what you want to do, when you want to do. And you can just hop in and just go. You can just get out of there. So I think it's super cool. And the idea also of being in Florida or somewhere and just being able to hop in your plane and flying to Mexico. Imagine like something crazy happened in the world and everything was closed and you weren't able to travel, but you could just, drive 10 minutes to the local airport, hop in your plane, do whatever you want to do, fly out. Pretty awesome, pretty cool. And I think that this is a really desirable alternative. In addition to that, what I've really been chasing like the last 2 years is increasing the level of intelligence around me. So getting around really, really smart people that are educated, people that are detail oriented, people that are big thinkers, people that are entrepreneurial. And a lot of these people check all the boxes of a private pilot. To be a private pilot, you have to be pretty detail oriented. You have to think outside of the box, and you have to be a little bit different than like the average Joe. Most people don't really think about getting their private pilot license. I didn't think about it, at least not until the last 6 months, 8 months, did it become appealing, thinking about how the world's changing. So now what I want to do is, once I get my private pilot license, I want to start getting around other people that own airplanes and that travel, that fly, like either they have their own plane, like their own private jet, or they're friends with people that have private jets and they have their license and they travel and fly all around. I mean, that would be some pretty good people to have around. And I think that in the coming years, those relationships are going to be invaluable. So right now, I'm just on a mission to increase the intelligence around me, gain as much freedom as possible, to get an airplane, save as much money as possible, and then fly around and make very, very smart investments, whether it be real estate or, you know, who knows what. Who knows what can happen when you push yourself to that limit, trying to find your new potential. So right now I'm just in Delray Beach, just enjoying some coffee. I'm gonna leave, and actually I'll probably leave right now. And we go throw my shoes on. I'm gonna pack my pilot bag, and I'm gonna show you guys what I do in the morning. All right, so you get this Cessna book here, which will show you my hours that I've logged so far. So those are the hours that I've logged. Little Cessna bag. So essentially this right here gives me access to an online school, and the online school paid about $400 for the online school. And so you essentially at the end, you take 3 tests, and once you take the test, then you are ready to go. So cell phone, my, let's see here. That's basically it. That's all I need today. So just this. So to become a private pilot, it's kind of expensive for the actual schooling. The schooling may be, depending on where you are, if you're in like a Santa Monica or a Venice or a prime area, it could be like $20,000 just for the schooling. But where I am right now, it's about $9,500 to hit the required 40 hours. So $9,500. And you know, generally you have to go more than 40 hours. So you might have to go 50 or 60 hours. So it could be 12 or 15,000 to get your private pilot license. But after that, then there's just so much you can do. You can go become a commercial pilot. You could either fly a plane for, you know, someone really wealthy and just be on staff for them, or if you are doing well yourself financially, you can buy your own, you know, plane and charter flights. You can do a million different things with a private pilot license. So right now I'm just going to get my private pilot, then maybe I'll get my commercial, because if I get a 414 Cessna, which is a twin engine, I'm going to need a higher level of training. So one thing at a time. Right now I am I'm good to go. So yeah, that's it. Let's go. All right, so coffee, bringing it. Got the minivan. You know, that's you know, dad life. Now that I have a child, I need to think about packing the stroller. I need to think about his car seat, all the stuff that we're buying, kind of getting situated. So this is what they had at Enterprise. It's actually not that bad. You know, it's really interesting. When I was younger, I always thought that, you know, you never want to drive a vehicle like this, but when you get a little bit older, you like smarten up. You start thinking more about just assets, and like rental cars are really just rental cars. So who cares?
Concert. You can check that out.
All right. Cool. So we're good to go. Yeah, think about how cool that would be to have your private pilot license. One time I went on a private plane one time with my friend, and we went. It was actually a really cool experience. So my friend German, his friend Jesse had a plane, and they invited me to go skydiving with them. So we went in his, I think it was like a Cessna 172. We flew out from LA, I think it was at Inglewood Airport, and we flew to Paris, California, which is about probably 40 minutes on the flight. We flew there and we went to go skydive, but it was the first time we ever went skydiving. So when I went, I was expecting to do it tandem, but we didn't go with anyone strapped to us. We jumped out of the plane with probably 10 people, 2 instructors were jumping with us, just kind of like overseeing everybody. But I jumped out of the airplane, no one strapped to me. First jump, it was a pretty awesome experience, and just being able to fly there with them and kind of to see that just made me. It kind of like grew on me how cool it would be to own an airplane. Then I kind of forgot all about it until everything that happened over the last year, and then it just made me think about it even more and more and more. Thinking about how awesome it would be to be able just to hop in and go. Because remember when they shut down airports, right when this whole thing started, they made it hard to travel? You know, it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that, hey, maybe there's like a new type of strain or something else happens and people can't travel, or people aren't allowed to do this or do that. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool to get out of this. The only bad thing about if you get like a Cessna 172 or a Cessna 414 is you can only go about 11 to 1,200 miles on a full tank. So to put that into context, if you were to fly from, say, Tampa, Florida, you could make it to Philadelphia or possibly New York. That would be the furthest you could go without stopping to refuel. So with that being said, if you fly from Tampa to Cancun, Mexico, it's about 550 miles. So you could easily fly from there to there. So you could actually go from Tampa to Cancun, Mexico, from Cancun fly into South America and do whatever you wanted there, which is really cool. Imagine you get like a little house in Cancun or in Mexico and you could fly from LA or Florida to Mexico. So you wouldn't be able to fly to Europe, is basically it. Like you would need a much bigger airplane to be able to fly the 2,500 or 3,000 miles to get to Europe and really access the rest of the world. So you know, to get one of those planes is very expensive. You might drop, you know, $5 million, $7 million bucks just to buy the plane. And then after that, the maintenance costs will be through the roof, maybe $1 million a year, just with maintenance, with all the checks, the fuel, everything that you'll spend to maintain that airplane is going to cost you a fortune. So yeah, I mean, that's not inside my budget, is to like drop that kind of money on an airplane just yet. But you know, you get something cheap, something affordable, something that you can manage, and you know, from there you can just slowly upgrade. I think what will likely happen is that once you get that first plane, then you appreciate it a lot, but then you really start to increase the scope of what you see as possible. So you get the first plane, you're like, okay, this is cool, this is affordable, I really enjoy this, but then you start searching constantly about new planes, different types of options. Then you're like, okay, well, I'm not making enough money to afford that plane, but what can I do to really level up my game? Your friends around you that own planes, you're getting around other people that own planes, and you see the stuff that they have, and it just like pushes you and pushes you. And I think before you know it, it could get out of control to where you are really just doing really well in life, all because you know that for you to live the best life and for you to get everything that you want for yourself and your family, you need to do that. And I think before we get to a point to where we see things as possible, we won't need to be around other people that are already achieving it. That's what's happened for me a lot in my life, is I'll end up being at a certain point, but then one of my friends is at a much higher level, and I sit there and start talking to him, and before you know it, like, he's giving me some really good ideas, and then it's pushing me, and then 6 months later I'm at a different stage. So I'm hoping that is what happens with kind of this new journey that I'm going down right now with receiving my private pilot license. I think it would just be super cool. So in about 5 minutes, I will be in West Palm Beach, where I'm getting my training and meeting up with my instructor, a young guy, really nice guy. You know, he wants me to study every single night. So every night I am studying like the AWAS, which is the actual radio, understanding the frequencies and everything that I need to understand to be clear for takeoff and understand. So I'm still like kind of learning this. So I'm understanding how they communicate over the radio. So it's still pretty confusing. I'm slowly but surely getting it. I just started this, like, he told me to study it last night, so I studied it a little bit, but I still have like a bunch of studying to do. So I'm studying about an hour and a half, 2 hours a night, all different things about receiving my private pilot license. So I'm hoping in the course of like the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I will take my first practice exam. And yeah, but right now I'm already at the stage where I am taking off in an airplane, which is really cool. And I've landed in an airplane, which is awesome as well. So like, those are the big hurdles that I was kind of concerned about, was like, how do I land an airplane, at least one of these small ones, and how do I take off? Because everything else you can kind of figure out, but the landing and the takeoff is basically the nuts and bolts of flying. But so far, the actual landing hasn't been bad. I've done it twice, and the takeoff I've done about 4 times. So the takeoff is the takeoff and the landing so far has been pretty cool. So yeah, that is kind of where I'm at right now to get my private pilots. In maybe 5 or 10 minutes I'll be there, and I'm going to kind of show you guys me prepping the plane and getting ready for takeoff. So yeah, fun stuff. All right, guys, so we just finished up the flight for today. I flew for about an hour and a half. Now I have about 8 hours of total flight time, and now we're just gonna grab some lunch. So I just got some shrimp tacos, some rice and beans for him, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Consider subscribing for more content around freedom, personal finance, money, business, and I'm gonna really grow my network, put us in some really good positions to learn a lot from a lot of really smart people. Consider smashing the like button as well, and I'll see you guys next video.